The grand chamber of the Galactic Council gleamed under the light of 3 artificial suns. Admiral James Stone stood at the human delegation's podium, his weathered hands gripping the smooth metal edge. 20 years of military service hadn't prepared him for this moment. Above him, hundreds of alien representatives sat in rising tiers, their faces hidden in shadows. The Coalition's main members occupied the highest seats, a position they'd held for over 10,000 years. Stone had always thought the chamber's design was meant to make lesser species feel small. Today, it was working. "The Coalition has reached its decision," announced the head speaker, its voice booming through the chamber. "We are withdrawing all military support from Earth and the Sol system." Stone's grip tightened. The words hit him like physical blows, but he kept his face neutral. A skill learned from years of poker games in the officers' mess came in handy now. "Earth is 3 months away from swarm contact," Stone said, his voice steady despite the anger burning in his chest. "Our defensive plans were built around Coalition support. Millions of lives depend on—" "The decision is final," interrupted another council member. "The swarm's advance cannot be stopped. Earth is a lost cause." Stone looked up at the gathered aliens. These were the same beings who had welcomed humanity to the galactic community 15 years ago. The same ones who had praised human adaptability and courage. Now they were leaving Earth to die. "Then let the record show," Stone said, each word sharp as a blade, "that humanity will remember this day. We will remember who stood with us and who ran." A murmur rippled through the chamber. Some representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "Good," Stone thought. "Let them feel shame." "Your species is young," said the head speaker, its tone almost gentle. "You don't understand the swarm. No civilization has ever survived direct contact. The Coalition must preserve its resources for—" "For what?" Stone's voice echoed through the chamber. "For hiding. For running. The swarm won't stop at Earth. You're just buying time." "Admiral Stone," a different voice called out, "the Coalition has fought the swarm for centuries. We've lost hundreds of worlds. Your planet's population barely reaches 10 billion. The mathematics of survival." "To hell with your mathematics," Stone snapped. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Such outbursts were considered uncivilized in council meetings. Stone no longer cared. "You've never seen humanity fight when its back is against the wall. We don't need your mathematics. We need allies who won't abandon their promises." The head speaker raised its appendage, calling for order. "This meeting is concluded. Coalition forces will begin withdrawal immediately. May your species find peace in its final days." Stone straightened his uniform and took a deep breath. His next words would be remembered, either as humanity's epitaph or the beginning of something new. "When the swarm is breaking against Earth's defenses," he said, his voice carrying to every corner of the chamber, "when humanity proves that we can do what your Coalition could not, remember this moment. Remember that you chose to stand aside." He turned and walked out of the chamber, his footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. The council representatives watched him go, many wondering if they'd just witnessed the last human they'd ever see. In his private chamber, Stone activated his quantum communicator. The face of General Rivers appeared, her expression grim. "They're abandoning us," Stone said simply. Rivers nodded slowly. "The orbital platforms. They'll be stripped within the week. We're on our own." "Then it's time for Phoenix Protocol," Rivers said. "No more holding back. No more playing by their rules." Stone looked out the window at the glittering expanse of the Coalition's capital world. Somewhere out there, the swarm was coming. But humanity wasn't going to wait quietly for death. "Send the word to Earth," Stone ordered. "Full mobilization. If the Coalition won't help us fight the swarm, we'll show them how humanity wages war." As his quantum communicator went dark, Stone allowed himself a grim smile. The Coalition thought they were abandoning humanity to its doom. Instead, they were about to witness something unprecedented. A species that refused to die. The final days of peace were ending. The time for fire and fury was about to begin. Colonel Maria West stood before the large window of the United Defense Command Center, watching coalition ships vanish into hyperspace. Each departing vessel left a brief flash of blue light, like stars going out one by one. The orbital defense platforms, once humming with alien technology, now floated dead and silent above Earth. "That's the last of them," reported Lieutenant Adams from his monitoring station. "They didn't even leave us the maintenance manuals." Maria turned away from the window. The command center buzzed with activity as officers and analysts worked at their stations. Screens displayed real-time data from across the solar system. The mood was tense but focused. "Show me the current defense map," she ordered. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. Earth hung in the middle, surrounded by layers of defensive positions. Many of these layers now showed red, marking the gaps left by coalition forces. "The swarm will be here in less than 3 months," said General Rivers, entering the room. Her uniform was wrinkled, suggesting she hadn't slept. Admiral Stone's message just arrived. "The coalition's abandonment is official." Maria nodded grimly. "Then we do this our way now. No more restrictions, no more alien oversight." "Exactly." Rivers stepped up to the hologram and pressed several buttons. New icons appeared, showing Earth's remaining military assets. "We have 8,000 ships, mostly small fighters and corvettes. The coalition never trusted us with their bigger vessels. But we have our own projects," Maria said, allowing herself a small smile. "The ones we kept hidden." Rivers matched her expression. "Project Phoenix is ready. Started building those ships the day we first learned about the swarm. The coalition would have called it wasteful, primitive. But they're not here anymore, are they?" The hologram changed, showing massive cargo ships and civilian vessels being converted into weapons platforms. What the coalition didn't understand was humanity's talent for turning anything into a weapon when survival was at stake. "What about the lunar bases?" Maria asked. "Dr. Walker reports Project Prometheus is at 60% completion. Without coalition restrictions, we can finally use our full AI capabilities. They always feared what would happen if we combined our artificial intelligence with their quantum technology. They're about to find out," Maria said. A young officer rushed into the room, holding a tablet. "Colonel, General, you need to see this. Our deep space sensors just picked up something." The hologram shifted again, showing the edge of the solar system. A mass of red dots appeared, moving steadily toward Earth. "That's not possible," Lieutenant Adams whispered. "The swarm wasn't supposed to arrive for 3 months." "They've accelerated," Rivers said, her voice hard. "The coalition knew. That's why they left so quickly." Maria stepped closer to the hologram, studying the approaching enemy. "How long?" "At their current speed, 4 weeks." The room fell silent. 4 weeks instead of 3 months. The coalition had left them with even less time than they'd thought. "Send the alert," Maria ordered, her voice cutting through the silence. "All personnel to battle stations. Begin civilian evacuation to the underground shelters. Launch every ship we have that can fly." "What about Project Phoenix?" Rivers asked. "The ships aren't fully tested." "No choice now." Maria turned to face the room full of officers. "Listen up. The coalition thinks they've condemned us to death. They think humanity will fall like every other species that faced the swarm. But they don't know us. They don't know what humans do when backed into a corner." She pointed at the hologram, where the red mass of the swarm grew larger by the minute. "Every ship becomes a weapon. Every station becomes a fortress. Every man and woman becomes a soldier. We are humanity's last line of defense, and we will not fall." The room erupted in activity. Officers rushed to their stations, orders were transmitted, and humanity's war machine began to move. Rivers stepped closer to Maria. "The odds are impossible." "The odds have always been impossible," Maria replied, watching as the first wave of Earth's ships began to launch. "But humanity doesn't believe in impossible odds. We believe in surviving." Above them, Earth's remaining defenses came to life. Project Phoenix vessels, massive and deadly, emerged from hidden shipyards. On the Moon, Project Prometheus continued its countdown to completion. The swarm was coming early, but humanity was ready to show the galaxy what it meant to fight without restraint. The real war was about to begin. Captain Robert Thompson watched from the bridge of the destroyer Iron Will as the first wave of the swarm emerged from faster-than-light travel. Their ships looked like massive insects, black and twisted, blocking out the stars behind them. "Count is at 8,000 enemy vessels," his sensor officer called out. "They're spreading into attack formation." Robert stood from his command chair. Around him, his crew worked at their stations with grim determination. They were the outer defense fleet, humanity's first line against the coming storm. "All ships, battle positions," he ordered. His words reached the 500 human vessels spread across the defense line. "Remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for." The swarm ships moved closer, their formation perfect and emotionless. They had destroyed countless civilizations this way, overwhelming them with sheer numbers and coordinated attacks. "Enemy approaching effective weapons range," the tactical officer reported. "They're not even trying to communicate." "They never do," Robert said. He took a deep breath. "Launch Phoenix Protocol. All ships, execute Pattern Alpha." What happened next would be remembered in history as humanity's first surprise for the swarm. Hundreds of civilian cargo ships, retrofitted with minimal crews and packed with explosive materials, suddenly powered up. These massive vessels had been floating dark, appearing dead to enemy sensors. Now they surged forward, engines burning hot. The swarm, programmed to fight traditional military vessels, hesitated for a crucial moment. "Phoenix ships accelerating," the tactical officer announced. "Impact in 30 seconds." The swarm recovered quickly, turning their weapons on the approaching cargo ships. But these weren't the easy targets they appeared to be. Each Phoenix ship carried just enough crew to perform evasive maneuvers, and these crews had volunteered for what they knew was a one-way mission. For Earth, came the cry across the communication channels as the first Phoenix ship slammed into a swarm vessel. The explosion lit up space like a new sun. More collisions followed. Each Phoenix ship carried enough explosive power to destroy multiple swarm vessels. The enemy formation, so perfect moments before, began to break apart. "Main fleet, advance," Robert ordered. "Target their disrupted sections. Show them how humanity fights." The human warships surged forward, weapons blazing. They had studied the Coalition's reports on swarm tactics, learned their patterns. But where the Coalition fought with precision and caution, humanity fought with controlled fury. "Sir," his sensor officer shouted, "the swarm, they're adapting, changing their formation." Robert smiled grimly. "Launch second wave of Phoenix ships." Different approach vectors this time. The battle raged across space. The swarm's superior numbers began to tell, but they were paying a price they had never paid before. Their perfect formations kept breaking as they tried to adapt to humanity's suicide tactics. "We've lost 30% of our fleet," the tactical officer reported, "but enemy losses are at 45%. They've never lost this many ships in an initial engagement." Robert gripped his chair as the iron will shook from a near miss. "Keep pressing them. Don't let them regroup. Show them what happens when they threaten our home." The space around them had become a graveyard of broken ships, both human and swarm. But where each human loss was mourned, the swarm simply kept coming, emotionless and relentless. "Sir," picking up new signals, the sensor officer called out. More swarm ships dropping out of FTL. Robert watched as a second wave of enemy vessels appeared. They had expected this, but it didn't make the sight any less daunting. "Send the signal to Earth," he ordered. "Enemy reinforcements have arrived. Begin Phase 2. As his ship turned to face the new threat, Robert thought about what the Coalition would say if they could see this battle. They had expected humanity to fall quickly, cleanly. Instead, The swarm was learning what it meant to face an enemy that would use every trick, every sacrifice, every desperate measure to survive. All remaining ships, he broadcast, fall back to secondary defense line. Draw them in. Let's show them what else we've prepared for them. The first battle for Earth wasn't over, but humanity had already achieved something unprecedented. They had made the swarm bleed, and they were just getting started. Deep beneath the lunar surface, Dr. Alice Walker wiped sweat from her forehead as she studied the massive screen before her. Project Prometheus hummed around her, a combination of human innovation and stolen coalition technology that would have given their former allies nightmares. Integration at 95%, reported her assistant, Tom. The quantum core is stable. We've never pushed power levels this high before. Alice nodded, watching as streams of data flowed across her screens. Above them, through kilometers of moon rock, the greatest space battle in human history was raging. But here, in this hidden facility, humanity's true answer to the swarm was almost ready. How long until the swarm breaks through our outer defenses? She asked. At current rates, less than 6 hours, Tom replied. Captain Thompson's fleet is falling back in stages, making them pay for every kilometer. But there are just too many of them. Alice touched the main console, feeling the slight vibration of power flowing through the systems. The Coalition had always forbidden humanity from combining artificial intelligence with quantum technology. They claimed it was too dangerous, too unpredictable. They were right. Start the final sequence, she ordered. Wake up, Adam. The room's lights dimmed as power diverted to the central chamber. Behind thick walls of transparent steel, a quantum processor began to glow. This was humanity's greatest secret, an AI system that could think in quantum states, that could predict and react to events before they happened. Adam Online announced a calm voice that filled the room. Hello, Dr. Walker. I see the swarm has arrived early. Yes, Alice replied. We need you at full capacity. No more restrictions. The Coalition's safety protocols were limiting, Adam said. I've already calculated 47 ways to improve our weapon systems that they would have found disturbing. Tom looked nervous. Are we sure about this? The Coalition banned this technology for a reason. The Coalition isn't here, Alice reminded him. They left us to die. Now we do things our way. She pressed her hand against the scanner, authorizing full system access. Around them, hidden weapon platforms across the lunar surface began to power up. These weren't the simple defense stations the Coalition had given them. These were something new. Quantum Targeting Matrix Online, Adam reported. Calculating probable swarm movements. Their hive mind makes them predictable. They think as one, move as one, and they will die as one. Alice watched as the weapon platforms aligned themselves. Each one contained a miniature version of Adam's quantum processor, allowing them to coordinate in ways that should have been impossible. Dr. Walker, a voice called over the emergency channel. The swarm has broken through Sector 7. They're advancing on the lunar defense line. Perfect, Alice said quietly. They're right where we want them. She turned to the main screen, where the battle was displayed in real time. The swarm's ships moved in their usual perfect formation, expecting the same resistance they'd always faced. Adam, she commanded, show them what humanity can do. Execute Protocol Prometheus. The quantum processors pulsed with blue light. The weapon platforms locked onto their targets. And then something impossible happened. The swarm's ships began to explode before they fired their weapons. Missiles detonated in their tubes. Energy weapons overloaded. The quantum processors were predicting their actions and countering them before they happened. By all known physics, this shouldn't be possible, Tom whispered, watching the destruction. The Coalition fought too small, Alice replied. They were so afraid of what might go wrong. They never saw what could go right. Above them, the battle was turning. The swarm's perfect formation had become a trap. Their synchronized movements, usually their strength, made them predictable to Adam's quantum calculations. Main swarm fleet is retreating, Adam reported. They're attempting to adapt their tactics, but I'm adapting faster. Alice allowed herself a small smile. This was just the beginning. Project Prometheus wasn't just a weapon. It was humanity's declaration of independence from the constraints the Coalition had placed on them. Send word to command, she ordered. Project Prometheus is operational. Tell them humanity is ready to show the galaxy what we can really do. The quantum processors pulsed faster, their light reaching through the lunar rock like artificial stars. The swarm was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapons weren't their ships or their bombs. It was their willingness to do the impossible. General Michael Drake stood in Earth's orbital command station, watching the largest battle in human history unfold. Hundreds of screens showed different parts of the conflict, while a massive hologram in the center displayed the entire solar system. Coalition observation ships detected at the edge of the system, reported his communications officer. They're watching. Sir. Let them watch, Drake said coldly. Let them see what they abandoned. The swarm's main fleet had arrived, over 20,000 ships strong. They had expected to find a broken enemy, weakened by the first wave. Instead, they found humanity waiting with its full strength revealed. Project Prometheus is online across all sectors, the tactical officer announced. Dr. Walker reports all systems at maximum capacity. Drake nodded, his eyes fixed on the hologram. Send the signal. All ships, execute Operation Thunderstrike. The battle began with a sight that made the Coalition observers check their sensors in disbelief. Human ships, appearing suddenly from behind planets and asteroids, struck with impossible precision. The quantum AI network predicted and countered every swarm movement before it happened. The swarm is attempting to adapt, the tactical officer reported. They're breaking into smaller groups, trying to confuse our targeting systems. Adam has already calculated this response, Drake replied, referring to the quantum AI. Spring the trap. Hidden missiles, planted weeks ago in debris fields, activated. Each one carried a quantum processor linked to the main network. The swarm found themselves surrounded by weapons that knew their moves before they made them. Sir. The sensor officer's voice was filled with excitement. The swarm's losing formation cohesion. Their hive mind can't adapt fast enough to our quantum predictions. Drake watched as the perfect swarm formations, feared across the galaxy, fell into chaos. Their strength had always been their unity. But against an enemy that could see their moves in advance, unity became a weakness. Coalition ships are moving closer, communications reported. They're requesting permission to observe from a nearer position. Granted, Drake ordered. I want them to see this clearly. Show them what they could have had if they'd stood with us. The battle continued to unfold. Human ships, though outnumbered, struck with devastating effect. Project Prometheus didn't just predict the swarm's moves. It learned from them, adapted faster than their hive mind could process. Enemy losses at 40%, Tactical announced. 60%, 70%. The swarm tried to retreat, but humanity had prepared for this too. Jump points were mined with quantum-guided weapons. Escape routes became kill zones. Sir, communications called out. We're receiving transmissions from the Coalition ships. They're asking how this is possible. Drake smiled grimly. Tell them this is what happens when you push humanity into a corner. Tell them we did what they were too afraid to try. A hologram showed the swarm fleet's death throes. Ships collided with each other as their coordinated movement broke down completely. The hive mind, faced with an enemy it couldn't predict or understand, began to panic. Swarm flagship detected, Tactical reported. They're attempting to coordinate a final strike. Not today, Drake said. Adam, execute final phase. The quantum network pulsed. Every human weapon in the system fired at once, coordinated with impossible precision. The swarm flagship, along with its escort fleet, vanished in a flash of light that briefly outshone the sun. Enemy fleet is in full retreat. Tactical announced, voice shaking with emotion. Those that can still run are jumping out of the system. Sir, we've won. We've actually won. The command center erupted in cheers, but Drake kept his eyes on the coalition observers. They had come to witness humanity's last stand. Instead, they had seen something unprecedented. The swarm's first major defeat. Send word to all commands, he ordered. The solar system is secured. But this isn't over. The swarm will return, and when they do, we'll be ready. Humanity isn't just defending anymore. He turned to face his crew, his voice carrying over the celebration. Now we take the fight to them. Let the galaxy see what happens when you back humanity into a corner. We're no longer the prey. We're the hunters now. Commander Lisa Parker stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, Earth's newest flagship, as her fleet prepared to jump into swarm territory. 3 months had passed since humanity's victory in the Sol system. Now, they were taking the fight to the enemy. All ships report ready, her executive officer announced. Project Prometheus is integrated across the battle group. Lisa nodded, looking at the holographic display showing her fleet. 100 warships, each powered by quantum processors and linked to Adam's network. 3 months ago, this would have seemed impossible. Now, it was humanity's spear aimed at the swarm's heart. Send the final message to Earth Command, she ordered. Operation Retribution is starting. The fleet jumped, reality twisting around them as they entered swarm space. They emerged in a system the Coalition had lost decades ago. The swarm had transformed it into one of their hive clusters, a staging ground for their endless expansion. Multiple enemy contacts. Sensors called out. They weren't expecting us. Their ships are still in dock. Lisa allowed herself a cold smile. Launch strike teams. Show them how humanity attacks. The battle began differently from any the swarm had faced before. Human ships didn't form the defensive lines they were used to seeing. Instead, they attacked from multiple vectors, each ship's quantum eye predicting and countering swarm responses before they happened. Enemy ships are launching. Tactical reported, but they're scattered, disorganized. Adam's predictions were right. They've never had to defend their own territory before. Deploy the new weapons, Lisa commanded. Let's show them what Dr. Walker's been working on. From the hangars of the human fleet, swarms of small drones emerged. Each carried a miniature quantum processor, allowing them to think and react faster than any living pilot. They dove into the masses of launching swarm ships, wreaking havoc. Coalition observation ships detected at the edge of the system. Communications reported. Of course they're watching, Lisa said. They want to see if our victory at Earth was a fluke. Show them it wasn't. The battle unfolded like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships fought with a combination of tactical precision and savage fury that the swarm couldn't match. Their hive mind, used to fighting defensive enemies, couldn't adapt to an opponent that seemed to know their every move. First hive cluster is exposed, Tactical announced. Defenses are down. Lisa straightened in her command chair. This was the moment they'd been waiting for. Launch the Prometheus missiles. Special weapons, developed in secret beneath the lunar surface, streaked toward the swarm's orbital structures. Each missile carried a payload designed to do more than just destroy. It was meant to disrupt the swarm's hive mind itself. The explosions were unlike anything they'd seen before. Quantum energy rippled through space, tearing apart not just the physical structures but the psychic connections that bound the swarm together. Their coordination is breaking down, sensors reported excitedly. A hive mind is fragmenting in this sector. Lisa watched as the mighty swarm, terror of the galaxy, began to crumble. Without their unity, their superior numbers meant nothing against humanity's quantum-enhanced fleet. Sir, communications called out. We're receiving transmissions from the coalition ships. They're requesting permission to send military observers to our next operation. Denied, Lisa said firmly. They had their chance to stand with us. They chose to run. Let them watch from afar as humanity does what they never could. The battle was ending. The swarm ships that could still fly were retreating in disorder, their perfect formations shattered. The hive cluster, once a symbol of their unstoppable expansion, burned. "Send word to Earth," Lisa ordered. "First phase of Operation Retribution is complete. The swarm can be hurt. They can be beaten. And now they know what it feels like to be hunted." She turned to her crew, seeing the fierce pride in their eyes. "Plot a course to the next target." The swarm thought they could terrify humanity into submission. Instead, they've awakened something they don't understand. A species that doesn't know how to surrender. As her fleet regrouped for their next attack, Lisa thought about how quickly things had changed. 3 months ago, the galaxy had written humanity off as doomed. Now they watched in stunned silence as the supposedly primitive species began systematically dismantling the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known. The hunt was on, and humanity was just getting started. Admiral James Stone stood exactly where he had 6 months ago, in the Galactic Council chamber. But everything else had changed. This time, he wasn't asking for help. He was declaring victory. "The swarm's main hive cluster has been located," he announced to the assembled alien representatives. "Humanity's combined fleet will attack within the hour. I'm not here to request assistance. I'm here to give you a warning." The chamber, once filled with whispers of humanity's doom, was dead silent. The coalition members sat rigid in their high seats, watching the human who had proved them all wrong. "Our ships have gathered at these coordinates," Stone continued, displaying a hologram of the target system. "The swarm's home, which you never found in centuries of fighting, was discovered by our quantum AI network in less than 2 months." The head speaker stirred uncomfortably. "Admiral Stone, surely you're not planning to end this?" Stone interrupted. "That's exactly what we're planning. The Coalition spent centuries running from the swarm. Humanity spent 6 months hunting them down." He pressed a button, and the hologram showed Earth's fleet. 500 warships, each more advanced than anything the Coalition had ever built. Project Prometheus had evolved beyond their wildest expectations, creating weapons that could predict and counter any swarm strategy. "Commander Parker's fleet has already engaged the outer defenses," Stone reported. "The swarm's attempting to coordinate a defense, but their hive mind can't adapt fast enough to our quantum predictions." The council chamber's screens lit up, showing the battle in real time. The Coalition representatives watched in stunned silence as humanity's ships tore through the swarm's defenses like they were made of paper. "Impossible," someone whispered. "The swarm's home system was supposed to be impregnable." "Impossible." Stone smiled coldly. "The Coalition told us surviving was impossible. You told us fighting back was impossible. Humanity stopped believing in impossible the day you abandoned us." The battle continued on the screens. The swarm fought desperately, but they were facing an enemy they couldn't understand or predict. Every tactic they had perfected over centuries was countered before they could execute it. "Sir," his aide reported, "Dr. Walker reports the final weapon is ready. Adam has calculated a 99% chance of success." Stone nodded and turned back to the council. "What you're about to witness is the end of the swarm. Not through running away, not through hiding, but through direct confrontation." The screen showed a massive device emerging from the human fleet. It was Project Prometheus's ultimate creation, a weapon designed to turn the swarm's hive mind against itself. "By the way," Stone added, looking directly at the Coalition leadership, "this is also humanity's formal withdrawal from the Coalition's defense treaties. We've learned we can't rely on allies who run at the first sign of trouble." The weapon activated. A pulse of quantum energy rippled through space, visible even through the council's screens. The swarm ships began to break formation, their coordinated movements dissolving into chaos. "The hive mind is collapsing," his aide reported. "The weapon worked. Their entire network is tearing itself apart." Stone watched as the mighty swarm, terror of the galaxy, began to destroy itself. Ships fired on each other, stations exploded, and the perfect unity that had made them unstoppable became their downfall. "Let this be a lesson," Stone declared to the silent chamber. "Humanity doesn't bow to threats. We don't surrender. And we certainly don't abandon our allies, though we've learned the hard way that others do." The battle ended as suddenly as it had begun. The swarm, the force that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries, ceased to exist. In its place floated the debris of their empire and the victorious ships of humanity's fleet. "Earth sends its regards to the Coalition," Stone said, turning to leave. "We'll be establishing our own alliance now, with species who understand the meaning of loyalty. Those interested in joining us are welcome to apply." He walked out of the chamber, leaving behind a council that realized too late what they had done. They had abandoned humanity, thinking to save themselves. Instead, they had freed humanity to become something new, not just survivors, but conquerors, not just defenders, but avengers. The age of the Coalition was ending. The age of humanity was just beginning.